Welcome to Crow's Corner. I'm Jenny. In this series, we'll be starting a project based off of the Harry Potter's Hogwarts Greenhouse. I really enjoyed the Hogwarts Legacy game, and this sort of inspired me. This project has been in the works for, oh my gosh, a couple of years now. But this episode will be primarily about the base. So the stone floor, moss, things like that that you're going to see on the ground. And as we go along, I'll be sharing different levels of this project. And I hope you enjoy it. So this is kind of close to what the finished product will look like, but I lost some of the initial recordings for this. So I'm giving you an example here of how I made the stones using some really cheap foam board. It's like dollar store foam board. You peel off the paper on the front and the back, and then using a toothpick you can create a sort of blocky or brick-like sections. And I make sure to go around the edges as well to just kind of rough them up and, get the little creases in there. And I kind of break off the end of the toothpick just to give it a little bit more of a dull point, and then go in and make all of the little creases deeper and more stone-like, so they're not so even. And I just use my fingernails to rough it up. I know some people use like balls of foil, but fingernails work for me. To give it a good solid coat of paint over a black coat, I add some sand for this just to give it some texture along with the black paint, and then Mod Podge. Mod Podge really seals it up well. And again, this is just the base coat. So that base that you saw a minute ago, the whole thing was coated in this before I started to give it any kind of decorative color. And this next part is very much a trust the process kind of thing. It's going to look very clownish and ridiculous for a while, but I use like red, green, brown, sort of yellow ochre, some blues, just to give an undercoating of different colors that will show through at when all is said and done. This will be very, very muted. You won't see these colors much at all. It just gives it sort of variety to the various types of stone that could be on the floor. So once I had everything covered and it dried, I didn't show this, but I actually coated it with some Mod Podge because the colors were starting to like bleed through more than I wanted them to. And then I took a sort of beigey gray color and gave everything its initial coat. You can see the colors are still very vibrant, and I had to go over this a couple times to get some of them muted down just a little bit. Second coat was a much more browny color, and I didn't cover everything completely. I still want some of the gray, some of the colors to show through. So it was just kind of a splotchy coat of everything. Now this is dry brushing, so it's a very like skin tone cream colored sandy color that I'm doing this. I'm making sure to really dry off my brush good, because I don't want it fully coated. I just want it to skim the surface of things. And then the next layer is going to be sort of this gunky, dirty, mossy color. I really want this floor to look worn, and in all the cracks I wanted this sort of like green color in there. So it's very watered down, sort of brown and green mixture. And then I use a paper towel to blot off the surface, and just making sure that all the spots are as dark as I want them to be. So it's really the cracks that are getting filled in. And here I am making a moss mixture. I've got this sort of like fake grass. You're supposed to use some kind of a static machine for this so it stands up in 3D models, but I don't have that. So I'm just kind of throwing together different colors and stirring that together. And I want it to be chunkier and a little bit more like there's some debris in there. So I grabbed some other like moss bits and cut those up a little bit finer and added that in there. And added some sort of brackish water. It's the same, that green brown base that I used to fill in the cracks. I just wanted to dirty this up a little bit more. It was too bright. And then finally adding in some Eileen's tacky glue. You'll see I didn't put enough, and I'll add some more. But this is not only going to bind it all together, but it's going to be what adheres it to the floor. And this was very tedious, long process, but I kind of liked it. I don't cover the whole floor in this. I kind of just wander around and put it wherever I feel like moss might be growing, mostly in cracks. Some of it I let it spill over onto the pavement. But if you have people walking around, I mean, the surface of the pavement's not going to be as mossy as what the cracks are going to be. So just using a toothpick to kind of spread this around, filling in the spots that I want the moss to be in. Here you can see I'm almost done. You just want this to look as natural as possible. I was kind of in the back of my mind thinking about where I was going to place things, so I didn't always have to put moss, along the edges or whatever. This next part, you can see I created like a little sort of pond-like thing there. And to be honest with you, you end up never even really seeing this at all. So this whole process was just pointless, but I'm sharing it because I want you to see how I did it. And I will tell you, this was the second try at this. I really should have just stopped at the first and not even worried about it. But I'm new to resin, and it was a process. So I created sort of a layer of resin at the base and hardened it, and then you'll see I add in little bits of grass and cut out some little shapes that look like water lilies and add those in as well. And again, I am totally new to resin. I don't think we're friends. There ended up being all kinds of air bubbles and bits of resin that didn't cure because it was hidden under leaves, and it was just a chaotic mess. And I was trying to use my daughter's black light to cure this. So again, it didn't come out very good. But it's there. I know it's there, and I guess that's all that matters. I ended up cutting off this extra piece. I really wanted more of the water to show, but once again, it doesn't matter in the end. You'll see in a later video when I make a tree here, the roots cover most of the water, and it's in the back of the greenhouse. So you're privy to this little bit that you can't see later on. I guess that's something special. So I ended up using a little bit of really cheap dollar store drywall spackle to just kind of fill in the gap around the edge and seal that little resin pond in better. You can't really see it in the video, but I actually put some fairy lights underneath so the water would have a bit of a glow. It didn't matter. That's okay though. And I'm painting it black just so it blends in. And that is about it. So, I look forward to spending more time with you in future videos. And next up will be the tree that we make for the back part of this greenhouse. If you like what you've seen today, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button.